9 episodes in. So we just wrapped up Ellie's journey through Seattle. So now we're starting day 1 of Abby's journey in Seattle. And I've gotten a lot of comments on our social media clips that we've been posting complaining about the show, saying, oh, it's an adaptation. It's not going to be one for one. Okay. I feel like people aren't understanding what an adaptation is.
I saw somebody say that Dina is the main character of season 2.
She is.
Yeah, somebody in our comments said that, and I was like, oh,
yeah,
making a lot of sense.
Is. And I like the actress a lot. She's really good. And I like the character of Dina in the show a lot too, but it's annoying because it's not true to who Ellie is in the game.
He was a monster in his own right.
Oh no.
It's not a...
Oh no.
Oh no. Frustrated?
Welcome to Backseat Directing,
where we talk about movies, TV shows, comics, and more.
We're your hosts,
Andrew
and Aaron.
We put out new episodes every Monday and Thursday.
And on this episode, we're talking about The Last of Us Season 2 while playing Part 2.
3, 2, 1.
Andrew, we have a lot to talk about today. And if this sounds familiar to your ears, Andrew, it's because we had to restart this episode because someone forgot to hit record.
Who?
That's me. I forgot to hit record.
Hey, you got a lot on your plate.
But we figured it. I was just so frustrated with how the season of television is going that I was so excited to get into this episode that I forgot to hit. But I forgot to do my job.
Forgot to even start the episode.
yeah. Luckily, we didn't get too far.
Yeah.
But today...
there's a benefit, though. We got to skip a lot of cutscenes. Like,
we didn't play anything.
Yeah, we normally don't play the cutscenes because we're assuming if you're watching this with us, you're just kind of chilling while we talk about the show mostly.
Right.
And we're assuming you've probably played the game before because we're ahead of the show a little bit. So we skip a lot of the cutscenes. You didn't have to sit through all the loading screens of those cut screens. Thanks to Aaron.
Right. You're welcome. But yeah, so we're talking about the show, like Andrew just said, where the last episode to drop was episode 5 of season 2, and we're a little bit ahead of that. We just finished up in the last episode. This is our 9th episode doing The Last of Us playthrough.
9th and a half if you count that little mini episode we recorded.
Yeah, don't confuse me. But yeah, we're 9 episodes in. So we just wrapped up Ellie's journey through Seattle. So now we're starting day 1 of Abby's journey in Seattle. So we're a little further in the game than the show.
In case you don't play the games and you just watch the show's about in Seattle day 2.
Yes.
To the best of my recollection.
Unfortunately.
And heading into Seattle day 3. Yeah, they're speedrunning it.
Yeah.
They're speedrunning Seattle. They're not speedrunning Jackson.
No. And they did a slow burn of Ellie and Dina's relationship that quickly started sprinting, which we'll get to all of that. But first, let me kind of catch everyone up to where we're at in the show or in the game here. So Ellie just finished, or she found the aquarium where Abby was supposedly staying, and that is where she ran into Owen and what's this lady's name? Mel. She ran into Owen and Mel, who we just saw Mel there. Mel's pregnant. Tension ended up happening. Ellie basically killed both of them. She found out that Mel was pregnant, and she got
really panicked.
Yeah, and emotional. And that's when Tommy walked in, and they left to go back to the theater. Jesse's at the theater with Dina, and then when Jesse and Ellie kind of walk out from the back of the theater, Abby is there, and she shoots Jesse right away, which was a huge shock
right in the face
playing the game because it literally happens out of nowhere.
I think they hear a gunshot and run out or something, and then
but it's something you're not expecting.
Yeah, you're not expecting him to die at all. It's not in a gunfight. It's not in the middle of a fight. It's as soon as he opens the door.
And then Tommy also gets shot in this sequence as well. and Dina doesn't get shot or anything, right?
No,
Yeah.
I don't think so. She's pregnant. So,
So then that brings us to Abby's like flashback here, where we're now at day 1. So we're gonna go through kind of all the same timeline, but now from Abby's perspective. And in the show, or in the game, sorry, we don't really know much about Abby at this point. We don't know like her motivations necessarily, or really what's going on right now. As the player in the game, you are angry to be playing Abby. You don't like Abby. She's killed Joel. She just shot Jesse. She hurt Tommy. You know, like,
you're like, what am I doing here?
yeah, like right now, Andrew has no desire to pet this dog. You know, like, why are we not playing as Abby? But so that's where we're at right now in the game. You ready to get into the show? We have a lot to talk about.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I liked the rant you started off with on our last episode, talking about episode 4 of The Last of Us. So I did want you to start off with your opinion again, because I want to hear your little rant.
All right.
I know you feel strongly.
Well, buckle up, because I got a lot to say. Some of which I've already said to you, Andrew, so you're going to hear it twice. But I believe when we were doing this episode a few minutes ago that didn't get recorded, we started at the hospital kind of scene where they were talking about the spores and how they had to lock.
Of the episode,
yeah, they had to lock some of their people in.
Which is a detail.
These are the wolves. They had to lock some of their people in.
And there is a detail from the game when Abby's talking to Nora and Nora's bringing her down to like the sub basement level where the Rat King is. Nora mentions that the first infected in the area were brought there and cordoned off down there. So that's a really cool, accurate level from the game.
But the reason that they were locked down there is because there were spores, because they were like, hey, did you guys get bit? And they were like, no, the virus is in the air. And they're starting to turn and stuff, so they had to seal them down there.
And Leon radios, I believe, up to their commanding officer and tells her that to seal them in the context of the show. I believe there's a note from Leon in the game, but they add more detail to it in the show where this soldier tells her to seal him off down there and self-sacrifices because he recognizes that they're going to be infected.
Right.
And she willingly does it. And the detail that they unveil at the end of that scene, too, is that it was her son, Leon was her son, that she sacrificed them all down there, but most importantly, she locked her son down there.
Yeah.
And one thing Craig Mazin says in their kind of interview at the end of the episode is that we get to see a cool dichotomy there. Somebody who made the opposite of the decision Joel made, somebody who made the selfless decision and sacrificed their kid for the greater good of the rest of the community, whereas Joel sacrificed the community for the greater good of his quote-unquote child
relationship
at the end of the first game.
Yeah. The intro to these last few episodes has been good. They've been giving you like a perspective that you don't see in the game, because in the game you're just following as Ellie and as Abby. But in the show, we're learning more about other characters, which is cool. It's nice. They're expanding on the story in those moments. They're not necessarily changing the story per se. But since they've done so much changes this season, it is a lot different than the game at this point, which is very frustrating. And I've gotten a lot of comments on our social media clips that we've been posting complaining about the show, saying, oh, it's an adaptation. It's not going to be one for one. Okay. And I feel like people aren't understanding what an adaptation is. Because an adaptation means that it's taking the same story and maybe presenting it in a different way.
They're like, an adaptation means you have to screw it up.
Yeah, like they're taking a story from one medium, which is video games, to another medium, which is a TV show format. So the format of how they present that story is going to change. Doesn't mean that the story should change or the characters should change. And that's my biggest problem, is that the characters have changed. They've stripped every characteristic of Ellie away from who she is in the games versus who she is in the show. And it's getting hard to watch. It's really annoying.
Yeah, I think that's consistently been your biggest complaint. And I think my biggest complaint is what they choose to spend screen time on. And I've mentioned that too. I personally, I know you have said to me that you're not bothered by the opening scene, and that we talked about how it was a theme in previous episodes so far from episode 3 maybe even earlier than that, with showing scenes of like the wolves coming after Joel. But it's been a theme of opening the episodes with wolves or scars and giving context to them, and then cutting to our main characters, Ellie, Dina, Joel, what have you.
Yeah.
I don't like that. The game left us totally in the dark and stuck with our main characters, and it bothers me for them. I like the Isaac stuff. I like the context of that. He's so good. Jeffrey Wright's so good as Isaac and brings a lot of like gravitas and good energy to that character. I like his scenes in episode 4, but then episode 5, I was kind of like, again, like, why are we getting so much exposition? And it's
so
to
much.
me, it's also a screen time thing. It's not just excess exposition. It's like, do that later. Give me more context to that later, and just have Ellie like go into this lower level of the hospital or whatever. I mean, if you want to give context to that, give it on Abby's side of the story.
It's like
when she's with the wolves, because we're cutting to this other group.
It's foreshadowing in a way that takes away from the element of surprise.
Yeah, they're explaining to us how the situation got that way, how the spores happened there.
So like you know later that that's going to come up again.
But I don't need that, especially as somebody who's played the game. I especially don't need that.
Yeah, I'm confused why they didn't have spores introduced earlier in the show, because it's very present in the first game,
and it's a cool part of the game.
Yeah, they have to have gas masks on. Maybe like they think that's unrealistic or whatever. But
that was my favorite part.
If they were going to introduce that, then why didn't they just have it already? And it's annoying. I feel like they added it in after the fact because they're like, oh wait, like we can't actually do this scene without spores, because it's such an important part of the story. But yeah, my biggest complaint is that that Ellie is not Ellie at all in this show. Bella Ramsey's version of Ellie is nothing like who she is in the game, and it's a writing problem. It's a directing problem. The decision making of how they're telling this story does not line up at all with the game at this point, which is really frustrating because the first season did such a good job of translating the story from video game to TV show format. And the downfall of this season needs to be studied. It's crazy. But yeah, so let me talk about the complaints with Ellie's character here. First we get to see her is Dina is triangulating their path.
Some with triangles, right?
Yeah, but hey, I'm not a math wizard, And it was so annoying because she comes out like, lolly, lolly, la, hey, I found lights, yay.
That's a reference to the game, sure. But, like,
she doesn't act like that.
Couldn't she be a little more somber? Like, I get in the game, too, there are moments when she's going to be, she's not going to be constantly depressed forever, every second of the day, because that's unrealistic.
Yeah.
But, like, she just has overall this tone of, like, she's happy and silly until randomly she remembers that Joel has died, and then she locks in for a small period of time.
Which is fine if it was a different character from a different show, but
Ellie's
that's
defined
not how Ellie is.
She's literally defined by that rage.
But she's also defined by her tactical skills, her ability to handle herself in these tense situations, her ability to use all these different types of weapons and to protect herself and people that she's with. And right now she's just being silly and literally is being called dumb on screen in 2 occasions in this episode, one by Dina and one by Jesse. And that is so annoying because that is not who Ellie is in the game whatsoever.
And Dina says, you're a little crazy. That's part of why I love you. But I'm thinking, when has she been crazy? It wasn't until the end when she attacked Nora that I got that craziness from her. You know? Yeah. So at what point were you saying she's been crazy?
Right.
Some other time in the past? Now's the time to be crazy. You're on a little like revenge mission.
Yeah. So I'm annoyed that Dina is the one who seems
more upset by Joel.
More upset. She's telling Ellie why she needs to be motivated to go get Joel's character, basically, or killer. So going to get Abby. It's just a weird
Dina's more focused, more locked in, and more tactically capable and aware.
She's so good. She can hear the clickers. She can triangulate locations. She has strategy of how to approach different situations that they get in.
I saw somebody say that Dina is the main character of season 2.
Is.
Yeah, somebody in our comments said that, and I was like, oh, that's
Yeah,
making
she
a lot of
is.
sense.
And I like the actress a lot. She's really good. And I like the character of Dina in the show a lot too, but it's annoying because it's not true to who Ellie is in the game. Let's see, what else? Trying to think of that next point that I wanted to go. Oh, they undercut their relationship and the tension of the show again. And that was really annoying. So they get into this building with all the stalkers, which they skipped past Hillcrest. They just blew right past it. You know, Hillcrest wasn't even in this episode at all, which is really annoying because
people are really annoyed by that, yeah.
That's one of my favorite parts in the game to play. We've spent a whole episode playing that part of this game, you know, just that one little portion. Like, it's such a tough level, especially if you do it like without, you know, trying to go all the way through without dying at all throughout the checkpoints. And yeah, we didn't get to see Ellie sneaking around. She's also with Dina right now when she's not supposed to be.
Yeah, she goes off by herself for a little bit, and then she encounters Jesse.
Right,
yeah.
which is annoying as well. But so their relationship, they get into this building and they're like, all right, I think there's infected here. They don't know about the stalkers yet. And Dina's like, hey, I'm protecting you or whatever because I love you. And then I was like, as soon as I heard that, I was like, have they said that before?
Yeah.
And then Ellie's like, oh my gosh, you love me?
This is terrible timing for this conversation.
Yeah, it's like...
It feels like it's being brushed over, you know?
Yeah, and it's not romantic at all. And now I don't have that tension of what's in the next room.
Yeah.
You know, because now I'm distracted by how awkward, again, their relationship is being presented.
And another thing here is, again, I feel like Ellie's being stripped of having any control in the story because it again feels like she's not even taking initiative in the relationship.
Right.
It feels like Dina's taken the initiative at every turn.
Everything.
And Ellie's been afraid to take initiative.
Yeah, Ellie's just along for the ride. You know, like, I don't even know if she's afraid. I think she's just clueless to everything that's going on.
Well, that's what I said to Sierra when we were watching it. Watching this season of Last of Us, it feels like the story is happening to Ellie.
Right.
And not
she's
because
done
of Ellie.
nothing to move the story forward at all. You know, like, she's done absolutely nothing. It's really frustrating. I've said frustrating a lot. I'm going to stop saying that word. Okay, and then the stalkers. That was terrible. Absolutely
Get
terrible.
back.
They didn't take one of them down strategically. They were like, oh my gosh, they're smart, so we have to be smarter. Let's flank them. Let's split up and flank them. And then there was too many of them, so Dina runs into this cage, and Ellie is like, hey, I'm immune, so I can get bit. I'll bring them this way so you can go free. I'm so tired of Ellie using her immunity as like a crutch and a reason for her to get bit, because that logically doesn't make any sense.
Well, you can, like they said, you can get bit, but you can also get torn apart.
Yeah, like
that's what they said in the first season.
They're like taking chunks out of her skin, like, or even the bite on her arm, like that could get infected, not necessarily with this fungal disease or whatever that's taken over, but just normal infected. Like if me and you were to get a cut and we're outside and it's not taken care of.
Oh,
you know, like
I'm gonna kill by the clicker.
You have a giant flesh wound. Like that's
but a flesh wound.
That's not like something to be taken lightly.
Yeah.
And not only is she getting bit, she was getting attacked by 5 of them basically on top of her, basically eating her alive. And then guess what? How does she get out of it? Here comes Jesse, a man to save the day.
It's just what the show needed.
Pissed me off.
I swear, dude. That pissed me off too.
I was like, what? Why is he here like this? Like, in the game, Jesse doesn't save Ellie. He just runs into Ellie and then helps her the rest of the way. You know, they're working together the rest of the way. It's not like Ellie was down for the count and in comes Jesse to save her, you know?
Yeah.
And then for him to be like, yeah, we know you weren't the one to track him down. You know, like, basically calling Ellie dumb again. It's like, why are they making such a point to tell the audience that Ellie is dumb? You know?
Yeah.
Frustrating. Oh, there's that word again. This is a hard level.
Here's how tough
here.
Abby should be.
Yeah. Dude, how does it feel to have this much ammo during this portion?
It feels elite. I checked, by the way, my settings on my save file, and I was playing on the same as we're playing now. Everything on hard with the resources on light.
Oh, interesting.
Just feels harder for some reason, maybe on the screen.
Okay, using the screen as an excuse. Maybe you're just not as good as you thought you were.
No, I was playing the other day, and I was doing pretty good.
Sure.
Pretty
Sure. Yeah. I saw you die by the clicker twice. Don't think you got that.
What are you talking about? You were busy talking. Nobody
No, I saw that.
Literally nobody saw that.
No,
I started using this gun, and this mission was so much easier. So much easier.
Dude, that gun's elite.
All right, so are there any other frustrations that we have to talk about from this episode? I am just consistently annoyed with their allocation of their time as a resource, their screen time. Because, like, the hospital sequence, also, like, the lack of action in fighting. The hospital sequence, she just evades the dog by sneaking into a hole. In the game, you have to fight a huge group of wolves outside the hospital to get in to get to Nora. And that fighting sequence just turned into this quick... and on top of that, the sequence with the scars in the woods, one of the most iconic parts of the game as well.
Stupid.
Awesome sequence in the game where you're running, you're hiding in the woods, all of a sudden you get shot by an arrow out of nowhere. They did that with Dina getting shot, which was crazy, but then you just hide. In that sequence, you can fight a bunch of scars.
She ran for her life, terrified.
She doesn't fight anybody.
No.
I get that it's more realistic because she's not a one-man army, and a one-man army, like the Rambo situation, it's not real. John Wick's not realistic to fight that many people. But
Neither is allowing yourself to get bit by zombies over and over because you're protecting who you're with because you're immune.
Well, you could find a better middle ground, too, to make it more realistic. You could maybe have her... not fight as many people, but it's more than one at a time.
It's a story,
it's fictional.
Yeah, like it doesn't have to be like, oh, well, this girl being a one-man army isn't realistic. So what?
The Star Wars isn't realistic,
Yeah, like you can have it presented in like a way that looks realistic,
The method that they're doing cuts down on the action, which is a big part of my enjoyment of the game. And it cuts down on the portrayal of the characters.
Yeah.
They seem relatively weak.
Yes, very much so. Like, the way that they do the fighting in this game, too, it feels real.
The hits land really hard.
Well, like, you're not going and fist fighting a male as Ellie, when she is, like, throwing punches or whatever, she has her knife in her hand. She's literally knifing them.
I mean, Ellie...
And then, other than that, what is she doing? Using guns, using arrows, using bombs, using smoke grenades, using strategy. Like a big part of this game, because I sucked at this game first playthrough, even the first one, because I didn't understand like the strategy and like the method behind the gameplay fully. And it wasn't until recently where I was like really playing over and over again that like there's strategy to the game, and like we're not the best at it necessarily, but we hold our own, And the more tactical you are,
the easier
the game gets.
Save more resources.
Yeah, especially when you're playing a setting where there isn't a lot of resources. Like you have to like save up your resources. You have to be smart with how you use your ammo and stuff. Even with this, with our resources on high, we can't just go out there and shooting like it's Call of Duty. Like we're gonna run out of ammo.
Except in the portion I just played, where you have unlimited AR ammo when you're driving down the road.
Right, that's not the same.
Majority of the game. You can't.
Yeah,
I think it's funny that
it's like a cutscene
that we just played that part. But
she had extra ammo in the car.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's how that works.
Tons of mags.
Right. But yeah, let's kind of focus in on where we're playing at now.
Just started playing as Abby. This is game-changing stuff.
Yeah. And we have all of her weapons. Do you want to talk about like the difference in Abby's weapons versus Ellie's and how it like matches her character?
Yeah, Abby's weapons, they have more stopping power with a little bit more reload time. So Ellie's in terms of her build and her characteristics, she's more cunning, quick, agile.
Ooh.
Jinx.
Ooh.
So her weapons define that. Her weapons, the crossbow is Abby's version of like the stealth weapon. It takes longer to reload than the bow and arrow, but it has less drop. It has more more stopping power, more.
Yeah, it has no drop.
Yeah.
It's like a gun, basically.
And
But
then
it's quiet.
Ellie has the revolver, which is strong, but fires quicker. Abby in this same slot has this kind of pistol that fires rifle ammo. So it's even more stopping power than the revolver, but it fires slower. It's like a 1-bullet reload.
Yeah. But it's like a one-shot kill.
Yeah.
On
It's like a sniper rifle
anything,
bullet.
yeah.
Besides big enemies like bloaters.
Can't you put a scope on it too? Do we have a scope on it?
I believe so.
Didn't look like there was a scope when you.
But I think you can. No, I can't.
Yeah, we don't have one.
Maybe we don't have something unlocked for that yet.
Yeah,
we don't have everything unlocked yet.
Not for her. For Ellie, we did.
Abby has like a little bit longer range of a shotgun, whereas Ellie has a shorter range shotgun. Abby has a flamethrower to deal with like big hordes of enemies.
Which Ellie has the arrows.
Yeah, Ellie has more
the fire arrows, which again more like kind of agile
and also more tactical, I guess. Abby's more of like a force, brute force, and Ellie has more throwables. She's got the landmine for you to place traps. She's got smoke grenades. Abby just has the
brick,
the bullshit, and the
is that flashbang?
No, it's not a flashbang. It's like a pipe bomb. That's what it is. You throw it and it just explodes. So she's just like all power.
Yeah, I feel like that goes into the resourcefulness of Ellie. You know, being able to make all those different throwables and bombs and stuff.
Ellie's more clever. Abby's more strong. Ellie fights with her knife. Abby fights with her fists. She's stronger.
Yeah. Which she looks like she can fight and handle herself even against guys, you know.
Yeah. Can I not grab this?
Like in comparison, Andrew, what's your bench?
225.
So Abby's like your idol, right?
Yeah.
Your
She's
weightlifting
who I
idol.
was trying to catch up to.
Yeah. She's a beast, man. While you're looking where to go.
I'll just take the hint.
No, it's the rope, right?
I can't get to it. It says like no. Oh wait. Maybe I just wasn't standing close. I had to wait for them to walk over.
I'm gonna go grab a water.
Like Abby just tossed Manny up there.
Do you need a water?
I have one here. She just tossed a full-grown man up there. You know, that's impressive.
It's stacked.
I do want to get into some other complaints from the show, but we can ease off that for a little bit. We'll bring it up after we've relaxed for a little bit. I do have some other complaints for the show I was saying to get into, but we'll wait. I did like some stuff about the episode, though. I could talk about some positives for episode 5 of season 2.
Well, that's good for you. I can't.
I thought the spores was like the best looking visual part of the show, including season 1. I thought
the spores was pretty cool, especially when they were like breathing and
yeah. It looked really, really cool. It was well lit. It was super interesting visually. It would have been nice maybe to see the spores earlier. Oh my god. We gotta toss this in there.
Rope. Yeah.
And I was a little bit disappointed by the Nora scene, you know?
Yeah, that was. I mean, it was still okay.
Whoa, that was
like
crazy.
I think that was one of like Bella Ramsey's strongest like portrayals of Ellie. You know?
Yeah,
it felt the most like Ellie.
It did feel like it fell short of the game. Like I went and literally watched the game scene on YouTube right after, and I was like, "Ooh, this was way better."
Yeah,
I like the tone in Ashley Johnson's voice a lot better. She sounds a lot more menacing and scary when she's like, "Where's Abby?" Like even in that, I think Bella sounded a little playful. Like, "Where's Abby?" Like she had this like wild-eyed look where her eyes were like really wide open, like she was crazy.
Yeah.
Which you know is one way to play it, but I didn't think like that was completely necessary. I thought that in the game, Ellie just seemed really serious. Like she seemed laser focused on the mission. The reason she was saying "Where's Abby" wasn't because she was like crazy over it and she couldn't think of anything else. It was like she was locked in. She was like, "Where's Abby?" That's all I care about.
Yeah.
Do you know what he did? Where's Abby? And that sequence, they didn't explain. They didn't. Nora didn't get the chance to explain to her what happened.
So much exposition.
We also
They're not showing you anything. They're literally just telling you all of it, even before it happens.
Yeah,
I think the spores.
I think at that point we might have not even known that Ellie knew what Joel did, because that flashback might have come after that portion.
I don't think Ellie in the game ever finds out what, like who Abby's father was.
No, yeah. I mean, finding out that Joel, like
us as the.
Yeah, finding out that Joel killed the Fireflies and saved her and she was the cure.
Yeah.
We don't know that Ellie knows it at that point, but she does know it.
But we do in the show.
Yeah, the show is
they already had
the show's
that.
hammered it over the head. Like,
Yeah.
Abby or Ellie just said, I know. I don't care.
Because they already showed that flashback scene.
Which is a crazy realization for non-game watchers to find out that she knew that, you know? Because they don't know what happened in between the season 1, season 2. That's a big twist for them. But it's all about the timing of these twists, and I think the show's got the timing all wrong.
Get that scope.
I started off saying
that's not the scope. I think you still have more.
Yeah. I don't know if it's enough. I'm just spamming through it because we'll get them all eventually.
Yeah, but the scope is cool.
What else? The most annoying thing to me in the episode by far is having them saved by Jesse. Super annoying. Because this is literally...
Well, I'm sure you're fully aware that, like, women aren't capable on their own.
That's what the show would have you believe.
Dude.
It's literally gone from a story that created my favorite female character in all of fiction and one of my favorite female one of my favorite characters in general. Like, literally a game that put Ellie up next to Batman for me.
Yeah.
And making her not a badass.
I feel like over the last few months, I've been getting onto that level with you too. And I feel like that's why I was confused like last week at your lack of
annoyance,
disappointment in the show in comparison to mine, because especially coming after
Daredevil Born Again,
where you're very passionate about how they're messing up the character of Daredevil and Matt Murdock, and you're thinking that they weren't staying true to who the character is. Well, this show definitely isn't staying true to who Ellie is, and you didn't seem as upset about that. But is that where do you sit with that now?
After this episode, I'd say I'm pretty similarly annoyed with the character assassination that they've done in both shows. I think my kind of final straw was when Ellie came up like with her little sing-song about the power turning back on, because
that was like really early in
they
the show
were
too.
really leaning into the complaints that people were having, you know, like really proving people right by doing that scene.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating. Because that whole sequence of her coming up, powers on, do. She's a tank. Powers on, and then what are you doing? Like, but it wasn't just her not knowing what was going on, but it's the cadence and the tone that she approached it with. You know, she could have died, but her tone was very playful, like flirty. I get that she's gonna flirt with Dina, but you just got to Seattle. You focus on the mission.
Yeah, like
don't act like a fool.
Why don't you know what she's doing already?
Yeah,
like
you're just letting her take the wheel.
Yeah, like
everything.
Wouldn't you think, like, if me and you were in that situation, it's like, hey, I'm going to go see if I can find somewhere to turn on the lights, if there's a generator somewhere. And then you'd be like, yeah, I'm going to, you already went here, right?
Yeah, I already did that.
You'd be like, all right, yeah, I'm going to look at this map and plan a route.
The radio.
You know, like.
Which Dina does these things in the game. Like, there's a point in the game where she's the one listening to the radio. She's the one identifying the routes and where they all are. But it's as though they're a team, not as though Ellie is being dragged along on Dina's mission to avenge Ellie's father.
Yeah.
And the exposition scene where Dina's basically like telling her, Dina is portraying the rage that Ellie should have.
Yeah.
Saying, if I could have followed, like, if I had to, if he got away, the guy who killed my family, I would have followed him to the end of the earth. That is what Ellie should be saying about Joel. Why are we getting a whole scene of Dina explaining that about her past?
Like, this is how you should be feeling, Ellie. Like,
man,
shouldn't she already know?
And Ellie had just said we can turn back. Ellie at one.
I forgot about that.
I think Ellie in the. Does that piss you off again? Frustrated. I think Ellie. That's got to go in the thumbnail. I think Ellie says that at some point in the game. When she talks about finding out she's pregnant, she's like, what the hell? We could have turned back. But that's not like, let's turn back. That's like, if I was aware of this sooner.
I could have dropped you back off at home
Yeah.
so I can go on my own and not have to worry about you and your child.
Yeah. It's not present day. It's like, we could have turned back. Like,
Right.
doesn't mean she necessarily would have.
And she's like, now you're a burden, aren't you?
Yeah,
You know,
she's
like,
pissed.
yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man.
There we go. Getting Andrew's frustration out now, matching me.
I do think Bella Ramsey is a great actor. It's just annoying that I'm not happy with the portrayal on so many levels now.
Yeah.
And to me, even when a moment comes up where it's done right,
It's still wrong.
but it doesn't feel earned. It feels the sequence when she sees the hospital and she runs off to the hospital, like that is an Ellie moment because she looks at the hospital and she's like, oh, Dina's just been hit by an arrow. I need to like go and protect the woman I love and make sure she's okay. But she sees the hospital and she goes, this is more important. She's with Jesse. She's fine. I've got to take care of business. That's more like game Ellie. She's like, Dina will be okay. I've got to figure this out while I have the opportunity. And
But Dina wasn't there in the game.
It feels like they just flip a switch and Ellie has that mentality. It doesn't feel like she consistently has that mentality.
Right.
And I feel like that's what's frustrating. So even when, or like when she's with Nora, it's like, yeah, she's, monstrous Ellie. But why is that mode getting turned on and off at the flick of a switch?
Yeah.
And again, I'm not
consistent.
saying that in the game she doesn't have moments where she laughs or has fun or smiles, because she's still talking with Dina, flirting with Dina, joking around with her when they're going through like the open world area of Seattle.
Right.
She's still a human being.
Person, yeah.
She's still a complicated person, but it just feels like they've stripped that portion away until they want to turn it on, at the very minimal amount of times. And her toughness isn't there. Her fighting spirit isn't there.
Fighting skills.
I thought for sure at some point she was going to kick in, and I got excited when I saw the news station. I thought she was going to kill some wolves. She killed one. I got excited when they went underground. I thought she was going to kill some zombies. She killed a few. And even
Did
then,
she? I think she killed one stalker.
She was
Because she shot like this.
I'm talking about like underground with the
In the
red
hospital?
lights.
Oh.
Red lights. She killed a few, I think.
I think they just ran.
But that's what I'm saying. But people in our comments have been telling us that she killed a few, and I think she did it. She did get at least one or two.
Maybe like a stray bullet,
Yeah,
like
but,
blind fire.
Like that when or Dina was actually killing a few. Maybe when Ellie was trying to get through the door, she was covering her.
Yeah.
But it's even then, they're like fight or flight is so kicked in. They're not in control. They're not like Liam Neeson in Taken, where they're like, okay, we've handled this situations like this before. We've been on patrol. What do we do when we're facing 6, 7, 8 zombies?
Yeah.
No, they're like, bang, 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 bang. Oh my God, can you
Right.
find a way out of here?
Like
It's
they've never
panic.
been in that situation before.
Yeah.
Which, hey, like that situation be scary no matter how many times you're in it.
But what makes them cool is that they keep their cool in scary situations.
Right. They're
You need to throw a brick, I think. Oh, or?
No.
You're like, boom! You're just like them. Oh, window! glass! Yeah, I could go on and on about how frustrated I am with all this stuff.
Hallelujah.
I did.
Andrew's back, baby.
I did.
The Andrew you know and love is back.
I'm thinking I'm back.
Hell yeah, he is.
I suspended them more benefit of the doubt, I guess, because I thought season 1 was closer in quality to season 2 than I now think it is.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, well, like maybe episode 5 comes in and we finally get some action. But yeah,
There's a safe in here. Did I not?
I think you have to go around the side of the building.
Yeah, but I don't.
Did you get the numbers already or no? No, these are just your coins.
I thought it was in there.
Man, that sequence of the woods with the scars was so annoying. It was nothing.
We were excited to play that too.
Yeah.
Last week, I think.
And
or did we play it the week before?
They literally just ran in different directions. I don't know
Where's
how the scars didn't just kill Jesse when he was, just running away carrying a full-grown person. Also, why is Jesse the most badass person in the show? He showed up, clipped like 6 stalkers.
Yeah.
And then he's able to carry Dina and run away faster than the scars can catch up to them. That's elite strength and skill. Why is he being betrayed? Where's Tommy? I know. Okay, I get it. Tommy wouldn't be there yet, but he should be ahead of them. In the game,
Well, he
he's
is
ahead
now.
of them.
They're meeting up with him.
Yeah, he's in Seattle, but he's not like ahead of them. He's there to save Ellie. He's not there to avenge Joel, and that's a huge difference, you know.
Where is the code to this?
We're gonna have to look it up.
And why don't I have it?
This one, I always have a hard time finding the code.
It's in that building, I thought. Is this it?
I don't think so. See if there's another window or something that you can break into out there. That people that argued that Tommy was going to show up, and then they're saying, "Oh, he's here now." That's not good enough. What I was talking about when I was upset that suspecting Tommy wasn't gonna go was that Tommy wasn't gonna go before Ellie and wasn't going to be badass Tommy. The only thing that I think could redeem it a little bit is if Tommy drops a ton of bodies while he's looking for Ellie. There should be a mountain of wolf corpses on Tommy's way to find Ellie. Because I just went on my save file and played through the sequence where you're Abby and you're like at the docks confronting Tommy, and Tommy's the goddamn boogeyman. Tommy's as scary as John Wick. Every time you peek your head up, he's sniping you. Like, I was annoyed by Tommy at how hard it was to get through that mission.
All right, we're going to skip it.
But I respected him. Every time I got shot, I was like, damn it, Tommy. You're so cool.
Yeah, I feel
He
that.
had me at one tick of health so many times in that portion. And it's me and Manny. Plus, how cool is it when you and Manny are going to try to circle him and you're trying to get through that door, but he anticipates that you're going to do that, pops out of his hideout, and just comes out, you know, with the rifle out and headshots Manny. Like,
Brutal.
he kills Manny effortlessly, and he's toying with you guys, and there's two of you who are you're two of the most elite wolves. Manny's like the number 2 guy, and Abby's the number 1 general for Isaac. And Tommy's making mincemeat out of them. He almost kills both of them easily until Lev saves Abby. Or no, Yara. Yara comes out of nowhere and like knifes Tommy and saves Abby. And still Tommy lives. He just gets injured and knocks off the docks. We're not getting that Tommy at all. We're not building the Tommy mythos, the Tommy lore, you know? He was a legend in the games. He was a monster in his own right.
Oh, no.
It's not.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Frustrated?
That was too far. Too far.
Pistol accuracy dropped super far at that range.
It really did.
Oh. Yeah, you can always like go back and hide somewhere.
Now we're going to fight him head on.
That's the Abbey way. Come at him like a freight train.
That's right. Die. Where'd that one go?
I don't know. He fell into the bushes, into a hole.
Well, there was a guy in the cart.
Ooh, that's a bad shot with the shotgun.
Oh. That's where he went. Oh, wait.
Mel's not helping. I want to try to go through it the next time I play by myself. I want to try to go through it on the next difficulty, Survivor, and just see how hard it is. I wonder if I'd be able to get through the game. Headshot. I hate myself.
Oh my god.
You missed the shotgun. You gotta ease into it.
I'm not warmed up. Not warmed up. Oh my god. I missed again. This is not going well, Andrew. This is not a representation of my skill at this game.
I'm just looking through that pictures from season 2, episode 5 to look for inspiration for anything else that I liked or didn't like. I want to talk a little bit more about the stalker sequence. I'm going to wait till you get through this. You got that rifle? It's got the scope now. The rifle pistol.
Yeah, I've been using it.
So the stalker sequence, I thought the way that they built the tension for that scene was one of the most frightening parts of the entire show, season 1 or 2. What did you think? Because the way they did it was they revealed a stalker, and Ellie goes, "Oh, it's one of the smart ones. We can plan. We can, one of us draws its attention, and the other one sneaks up on it." Which, first of all, I thought was a shit plan from Ellie. Like, stick together.
Yeah.
Why are you guys going to separate and give one of you the chance to get bit?
Right. Well, I don't know if you've heard.
She's immune.
She's immune.
I'm honestly surprised she didn't just say, "Why don't I just run at it and tackle it? And
Yeah.
you can shoot it while I'm on top of it."
Yeah. While it's eating me.
I will put my head in its mouth and you shoot its mouth off of my head. Like an apple on a guy's head. But they show one.
Oh my god. Does this pistol not reach?
No, it should be like long range. Accurate to long range.
Well, this one, yeah, but the other one.
Oh, is the other pistol. But they show one, they form a plan, and then, there's two. And it's like, that's when I got a little excited. I was like, because I complained immediately. When I was watching it, I was like, why is there only one stalker every time they show them? I was pissed. And then they showed one.
Oh my god.
And then there was like 4 behind them. And that's when I got excited. I was like, this is accurate to the game. This is what I want to see. When they're in Seattle and they encounter the stalkers for the first time in the game, there's a group of stalkers. And that's what makes stalkers frightening to me. Not that they run and hide, but that they could be around any corner. Yeah. Because they run and hide.
They want companionship.
Exactly. They move in groups. Not only do they run and hide, but there are multiple of them. So it's like you see them scurrying, a couple of them. You worry that they could be around any corner, not that they could just be around any corner and you kill one and you're safe.
Right.
You know? Because there's 6 of them, you're worried about the entire area that you're in. So I was glad they introduced that. I thought it was cool the way their eyes looked, very creepy. They were up on the crates, so like you got the feeling that they had a lot of mobility. Nice shot.
Back.
I'm back. We're so back. But yeah, I was excited for that. But then instead of handling it, I was like, oh, cool. They put them in a dangerous situation. Now they can kick ass. Instead of handling it, they freaked the flip out, ran in different directions. Dina just basically they missed. Dina just caged herself in and hid. And Ellie maybe killed one stalker and then fell to the ground helpless.
Yeah,
and
I think she killed one stalker no.
But not only did the 2 of them have to get saved, but Jesse saved them so effortlessly.
Yeah.
Jesse did not struggle.
He's a man.
He didn't struggle with the same threat that 2 of them were struggling to face at the same time. Yeah. And I get that the stalkers were distracted going after Ellie and Dina, so it was easier for him than it was for them. Nice headshot. But even still, he just obliterated them.
Yeah.
He had a rifle and he just pop, killed them all. Whereas Dina looked like she was missing when she was point blank range with them trying to dig through a cage she was in. Like that's like in Walking Dead season 3 or whatever, when they're at the prison, it's like point, shoot. You know, your barrel's almost touching their head at that point. You're really going to undercut Dina's badassery that way if you can't have her handle something that simple. And I get that they wanted to put them in a dire situation because they wanted to create this thing where, out of the unfocused shadows comes Jesse, and he looks like maybe he could be Joel, you know? Capable guy with the rifle, standing in the Joel pose from season 1 when he was attacking the hospital. And Craig Mazin says that in his little interview after that, like, it looks like it could be Joel if it comes into focus, and it's Jesse. That's not a reason to manipulate a whole scene to where our heroes are not our heroes anymore. Mm-hmm. Like, you're like, okay, all right, I guess Ellie's incapable, so I guess Dina's the capable one. And then, Dina's also doesn't have skills, so I guess Jesse is the badass now. Like, this is a women-led story where they're so cool. And, like, not once playing through it did I think that I was in a situation that Abby or Dina or Ellie couldn't handle. I thought that they were in situations where they were shit out of luck. And like this one.
Like this part.
This one's crazy. This is a hard mission. Good luck.
I just have to wait long enough for our backup to
come in. He's got to push it. You have to survive. Do you have any bombs?
Yes, I do.
But like, even if they're in a situation, it's a waste, isn't it?
No.
No, because it's. Why don't you go to the building,
bro? Can you leave me alone,
bro? He's got his own tactics. But even when they're
behind me.
Yeah, they're climbing that fence. Even when they're in a terrible situation, I still think that they are gonna fuck people up, because they're so cool. Every one of them.
Yeah. Well, like when Abby was on fire right there, I had no fear that.
She could shake that off any day of the week.
Yeah.
She benches
That's
225.
That's like a Tuesday,
If Abby just flexes, the flames are going to extinguish.
Yeah, for sure.
You got a little health right there on the table in front of you. Yeah, man. That's just the most infuriating thing. Is it going to blow up the car? No. Shot right through Manny.
Yeah, Matrix.
He phase shifted like Ghost and Thunderbolts. Dude, you just got clipped. Headshot. Just let me know when you need me to take over.
I guess you have to do a little more than just wait for your backup, huh?
Yeah, I had a hard time with this when I played it on my last playthrough. I think I died once or twice.
Oh my god. If I could just hit my shots.
Dude, Alice should get out there and do some freaking work, dude. There we go. Good job, Alice. Alice, finish him off.
Just gonna let them do it all.
You had a shotgun for people that are close.
Yeah, but I only got 2 shots. Do I want to use them now?
Yeah, but you only had 2 pipe bombs. You tossed both of those without a second thought.
I have 3.
Is there a scent trail on you?
No, that's my gun. Who shot me?
You're like, actually, I think I should use it.
Dude, how are they hitting me when I'm crouched
On the right
like that?
side, I think. Oh, health. They pulled up. You're good. No, don't run out there. You're going to die.
I think you have to.
They cleared it. They cleared it.
Saved by the men.
God, man, that scene. Oh, the stalker scene is so infuriating, but it did look cool. It looked cool before they actually got into the fight.
Right.
Also, that's another thing that they added was this random building. That's not in the game. This random gap in the wolf patrols. With the spotlights looking out for them. They could have just played the segment of the game that led to the hospital, but they didn't want to separate Dina and Ellie for some reason. That's what they replaced Hillcrest with, was that sequence. Isn't that crazy? Because Hillcrest is on her way to the hospital, I believe.
Which Hillcrest establishes Ellie's capability on her own.
Yeah. And the hospital sequence establishes just how far she's willing to go.
Yeah, and
literally willing to sacrifice her humanity, which they did do that in the show.
Like she...
Oh, can I get a piece of that?
Yeah.
That's delicious.
She is normally with like a partner, either Jesse or Dina or someone. But at Hillcrest, she's by herself, and she's handling all of these wolves.
Should we do a new intro at some point when we get really far into this for a second episode, or do you want to put it all in one?
I guess it depends on how much more you want to play. We're an hour in right now.
We'll play another hour. Does that sound good to you?
Yeah, sure. We can do one right now.
We just finished a mission. It's as good a point as any.
All right, you want to pause it for a second? Well, if you're watching this episode, thanks so much for joining in. If you're as frustrated as us about the show, let us know down in the comments. I'd love to talk about it.
In the next episode, I think I'll pull up some comments and we can talk about what other people think. Because we have made a lot of Last of Us content. So if you guys want to check that episode out next, it should be coming out soon after this.
Yeah.
And we'll interact with some of the comments on our TikToks, Instagram, socials that respond to our descriptions and our analysis of the Last of Us episodes.
Yeah. If you want to join in the conversation even more, there's a link to our Discord. It is totally free to join. So we'd love to have you there if you would like. Make sure you hit that subscription button and notification bell so you don't miss the next episode of us playing the game and talking about The Last of Us or any of our other full podcast episodes. Thanks so much for watching, and that's a wrap.